Every morning, the team at the Exchange meets to talk about the top stories of the day. Here's a look behind closed doors at what we think makes the cut.
Banks and credit card companies have come to an agreement with the feds all by themselves.
Probably
I'm assuming Starbucks is going to charge you more for this.
Of course. We've been stuck, and I think the GDP numbers for Canada alone.
Canada's major banks and credit card companies have struck a deal with the federal government all by themselves. They'll cut the fees charged to merchants on every credit transaction. Until now, the transaction fees added up to nearly $4 billion a year. Well, the fees will be cut and capped for a period of time. That could create savings for the 700,000 businesses across the country that accept credit cards, although the big banks could lose millions of dollars as a result. There are about 76 million credit cards that have been issued to Canadians, but it's the high-cost premium cards that tend to hit retailers the hardest. The question we had this morning, if retailers are saving, will this translate into savings for consumers?
The thing that sort of remains, well, never to be seen as far as I'm concerned, is whether it will lower prices at all.
I think it was always pegged as an increase in profits for retailers, not an increase in sales cuts for me.
But apparently in the States, the experience was that consumers did see lower prices.
Really?
Not all of it,
Okay.
but a portion of it.
Maybe some retailers who right now are just sort of like directly passing that on to us, like they're saying like the terminal access fee, maybe some of those go away maybe, but even that seems a little painful.
Have faith. Have faith in the competitive system, that when people are allowed to compete, that they'll push the prices as low as they possibly can.
Starbucks is making it easier for Java junkies to get their daily coffee fix. The coffee chain says it will offer limited food and drink delivery in some U.S. markets by the end of next year. The service will be tied to its mobile app. It comes as Starbucks tries to compete with fast food chains that have started serving specialty coffees. No word yet on how much Starbucks delivery might cost. Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz said, imagine the ability to create a standing order of Starbucks delivered hot to your desk daily. That's our version of e-commerce on steroids. In the story meeting, we wondered if the idea would catch on.
They're the Bay Street workers who will within reason pay anything for a coffee. So therefore, if they like the coffee, it's there. I could see someone like, I don't know, paying some reasonable fee for that.
Lineups in the Starbucks too, right? Like there would be value in avoiding that lineup.
Absolutely. Everyone hates to be that person at the office who has to go down and get coffee for 8 people and put it into the little holder things and balance it and get the orders right. So they're basically saving that person.
We never make Kirsty get coffee. Canada's economy shrunk unexpectedly in August. That was a story that got them talking this morning.
The thing that scares me is that the oil industry was in trouble before the price of oil started to tank. And now that the price of oil is tanked, what does that mean for the oil industry? And is it a bigger problem than perhaps we even
If
thought?
we were a one-trick pony before and the pony just died, maybe, right?
No, hang on. We're not a one-trick pony. Our recovery is entirely, maybe not entirely, largely focused on the U.S. recovery. And U.S. GDP yesterday was great.
Yeah.
And Stephen Polaz was telling us that we're benefiting from that. Our exporters are benefiting because U.S. exports are strong. So that's a big piece of the pie, too.
The pony died. Let's break down the numbers. Canada's GDP fell 0.1% in August. There was a slowdown in the oil and gas and manufacturing sectors. That's 2 ponies. Growth in July was stagnant, but before then the economy had shown 6 straight months of increase. It prompted one Bank of Montreal economist to comment, the Canadian economy pretty much took the summer off. CBC's Peter Armstrong now. That is the fear, is how reliant we are on oil and gas. So we did see a big decline there. We did also, though, in the same period, start to see our dollar go in the right direction if what you want to do is be exporting. So I was surprised by the strength of the weakness in August. Sure. I would have expected to see a little bit better.
The point to remember, though, is the price of oil at the time was, what was it, $98 a barrel. It has tanked considerably since then, and we don't yet know what that looked like. The oil and gas industry, slowed down extraction by 2.5% at $98. What were they doing at 80, let alone when it dipped below? So, we're back up around 81 now. But it is interesting, and I spoke to Doug Porter today at BMO about that, and the extent to which we are witnessing a bit of what we'd call a crossfade, that as one track goes up and the other track goes down, that is a time of uncertainty. And it's hard for economists to predict what's happening. It's hard for businesses to exactly figure out what's going on. And then, just to sort of cap this all off, you just heard Joe Oliver talking earlier earlier about the fact that what they need is the confidence to come back, and these companies that are sitting on these big piles of cash to start spending.
So the
it's
question
all of
is,
a piece.
are we starting to see business investment? There have been signs of improvement in business investment. Not what you would hope. I mean, what's interesting again with that crossfade argument is when your dollar's at parity and a lot of the stuff that you would invest in is priced either in euros or US dollars, that would be the time to go out and spend that money. And our businesses did not. They were waiting for some other signal. So now the question is, okay, we may see the dollar come down. Maybe the US export market is going to open up to us. But I'll tell you, if Canadian businesses can't actually get into that market in a big, aggressive way, we could actually win, or we could actually lose on both sides here, because the U.S. is looking beyond us. They are growing perfectly well.
And you heard it in the meeting. We were talking about their numbers came out yesterday, and it looks great.
3.5% perhaps.
3.5%. You can't ask for much more. And everyone from Polaz to Joe Oliver to the economists to a lot of businesses themselves are saying we're just waiting for them to pick up. Well, they are picking up, and we're not seeing the kind of movement that I think a lot of people would like. But again, you get back to that crossfade argument, and are we just in a dip as the one sort of takes off? I think we'll have to wait and see what numbers look like for September, for October. August was just one snapshot.
So interestingly, of course, Canada always gets its numbers very late, but very accurate. So the American numbers come out very early, and then they revise them 3 times. So by the time you get the final number, I mean, they may have grown at 2%. We're saying 3.5%. By the time we get the final number. It's
frustrating for everyone to try. You have to wait all of this time to try to get a sense of where things are going. So it's hard to get out in front. I think it is an issue.
So one of the big questions, of course, is there's the 2 big issues for us. America is still our biggest market, no question. So if it is doing better, we are doing better. But we've been saying now for, a decade, that Canadian businesses need to diversify, including oil and gas, but every other business that can do it faster, into Europe, into growth markets. And the question is, are we starting to do that in a bigger way? And there's still not a huge sign of it. We're still overly reliant on the U.S. market.
Well, and to the point you raised earlier, if they didn't get in when the dollar was at parity, what do they do now? Do you just get in less? I mean, I don't know the answer to that, and I think it's a legitimate question we need to start getting some answers about, especially, on the oil and gas thing, and not to beat this poor pony that Pete said died, but
it's not dead.
It's not dead.
Definitely not dead.
They brought extraction down, but they're still pumping out an awful lot of oil. This is still, a big industry for Canada, but you look at the fact that we are now sending more oil to the United States. They're making their own stuff. Our biggest customer is our biggest competitor.
Now our biggest competitor.
And that's a problem.
That is a huge problem. And of course, you see the reaction from people like Joe Oliver when you say, what about the end of oil? And I don't mean peak oil. I mean, actually, solar takes off and nobody wants oil anymore. And everybody, I've yet to meet somebody who says, yes, we're thinking about that. Even if it's a 30-year plan.
But I don't think the federal minister of finance is going to say, you know what, Amanda, you're right. We're now planning for the end of oil.
The pony's on life support. I think that we need to start thinking about that way, though. This pony may not run forever, and we probably should be thinking about it, even in long, 30, 40-year plans, although it could be 10 or 20.
And I think this current situation that we're in, to go back to the crossfade example, we do need to at least have a short-term conversation about, well, now, how are things going to look? Where are we going to put the investment? Where are we going to put our priority as an economy at large? Until now, it has been oil and gas. What is it going to be for the next even 5 or 10 years?
Now, although we won't get the number on the GDP that includes Halloween until probably January,
That's right.
We know we spend a disgusting amount on Halloween costumes and candy, so that'll help a little bit.
Yeah, my
you do your part.
I did my part.
I just found out you have a treat bowl in your house.
The treat bowl. I've got an Elmo and an elephant and a fairy ballerina princess cat.
Costumes I dearly hope.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I have an elephant at home.
You don't actually have those things in your house.
Poor Elmo has come to live with us.
Back away from the treats, Peter.
That's right.
Thanks.
Thank you.